Oh, okay, I get to do it again? All right, here we go. Good afternoon. The meeting will now come to order. Hello, I am Marcia Herbert, President of the Board of Education. I would like to welcome you to the August 14th board meeting. In keeping with the board's commitment to open communication with the community, this meeting is being streamed live on the CCPS website at www.carroll12.org and broadcast live on Channel 21. We are also recording this meeting so that it can be accessed on demand on our website and broadcast throughout the month on Channel 21. Public participation will be held at approximately 5:15 p.m. Speakers will be directed into the boardroom from the building lobby and are allotted 3 minutes to address the board. As a reminder, please silence all cell phones and other devices. Board members, please turn off your microphones when you're not speaking. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and liberty and justice for all. Thank you. At this time, I need a motion for the approval of the agenda.
So moved.
So moved by Dr. Dorsey, seconded by Ms. Battaglia. Any corrections? I call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously. Now I need a motion for the approval of the minutes. They are the unapproved board meeting minutes of July 10th, 2024.
So moved.
So moved by Dr. Dorsey, seconded by?
I'll second.
By Ms. Battaglia. Corrections? Comments?
There was one revision.
Yes.
So we do have a revised.
Yes, we do have a revised. Yes, we do.
Okay, so it was just that one revision on page 7, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Seeing nothing else, I call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously. And now we will move on to public comments.
To have an early presentation of comments by the public, the following guidelines apply. Speakers with a connection to CCPS will be allowed to address the board for the allotted 3 minutes. Only those speakers that have registered online and have been notified by the Communications Department will be permitted to speak. Priority will be given to those citizens that are addressing the board about an item on the current agenda. Citizens not appearing in person for public comment can write to the board through email or U.S. mail. Public participation is not intended to be a question and answer session. However, if citizens have specific questions, the superintendent will assign a staff member to make contact during the board meeting to arrange a time to respond to questions. The superintendent and the board reserve the right to correct misinformation presented as factual after the conclusion of the public participation period. Statements to the board should relate to a recent agenda item, an agenda item that is expected to appear in the future, or a matter of general policy over which the board has authority. Personnel matters, pending appeals, the actions or statements of individual staff, or items related to employee negotiations are not appropriate topics and may not be discussed. The board has scheduled time on the agenda for public participation at approximately 5:15 p.m. The board reserves the right to limit the number of speakers on a particular topic so that all topics may be addressed. Additionally, the board retains the discretion to allow additional speakers as it deems appropriate. The board is allowing no more than an hour for public participation. Comments are limited to 3 minutes or less. All comments should be directed to the board members at the dais. Citizens may only address the board with their individual comments. Citizens may not stand in for another person or group and read their comments. When the allotted time expires, the speaker is permitted to complete a sentence. Citizens may leave any handouts for the board members on the table at the back of the boardroom. Please do not approach the dais. Additionally, the public may not display signs or posters during the board meeting. In lieu of signs, or if you are unable to complete your comments in the allotted time, individuals are encouraged to submit remarks to the board in writing. Those seated in the audience are asked to be respectful of the speakers and refrain from commenting to the speaker or the board members. We have 2 speakers this evening. Our first one is Ms. Teresa McCullough.
Hello. Good evening, Superintendent McCabe and Board of Education members. I am Teresa Basler McCullough, a 38-year veteran retired Carroll County educator. Thank you. On behalf of retirees, I would like to extend our appreciation for CCPS looking in to the inclusion of retirees possibly being part of our school's vision and dental benefits. Retirees have put in hundreds of hours and years of service to help put CCPS at the top. In fact, many retirees continue to be part of our schools, whether it be in the position of a substitute, volunteer, or other support staff, due to their continued loyalty and dedication to our students. I believe HR would concur if retirees weren't part of the substitute list, we would be struggling for substitutes more than ever. It was pleasing to us to see the awards of bids included on this meeting agenda. Once again, thank you. And for all of you out there, and some of you in here, a wise woman came up with this motto, and I stand by it to this day. Retire when you can and while you can. Have the best of the rest of the summer. Thank you.
Thank you. And our next speaker, I am very sorry if I mispronounced this incorrectly. Ogama Kite Kalu.
I don't see anybody. No.
Okay,
All right.
then that's
All
it.
right. Okay, that concludes our public comment. Now we will move on to employee groups. Celeste is not here, and neither is Ms. Porter. Well, it looks like we will move on. So let's start down with Mr. Whistler today with board member activities.
Thank you, Madam President. Welcome back. Hopefully everybody's having a great summer so far. I visited the FFA Fair in Westminster on July 27th and 28th. Unfortunately, I was out of town the rest of the week, and I missed the cake auction. That's probably one of my favorite things to attend. But I'm proud of every student who participated and grateful for every adult who helped kids increase their agricultural science skills. While the U.S. may have over 850,000 FFA members across 9,000 chapters in the country, I'm a bit biased and think Carroll County's FFAers are the best. FFA is a student-led, dynamic program, and it's so important to helping our students grow personally as well as develop their critical career and leadership skills. So thanks for everyone that participated. On August 12th, I participated in Liberty High School's parent meeting for their football program. And while I was there outside of official duties to support my son, who's entering his freshman year, I wanted to pass along some great advice that his football coaches passed to parents that night. The first relates to sportsmanship. Please be respectful to our sports officials. They honestly don't care who wins or loses. Please remember that. And please set a good example for classmates and other parents in the stands. Players on the field and parents in the stands should always offer support and positive words. Please don't be that player or parent that disparages a child on the field if they make a mistake. Keep everything positive, even for players on the opposing team. Another point related to safety. Players, please listen to your body. Listen to your trainers and doctors. Stay safe and think long term. Don't set yourself up for unnecessary injuries in the workout room or on the playing field, because those injuries could last a lifetime. Play hard, but be smart. And finally, a huge thank you to our staff, our principals, our assistant principals, and maintenance crews who've worked really hard over the summer to ensure students and staff experience a great start to the new year. I know I can't wait to see students, staff, and parents return to school in 3 weeks. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Dorsey?
Okay, on July 11th, I attended a Sykesville Middle School Addition Construction Planning Committee meeting, and at that meeting, we continued to discuss specifications for the addition. We focused on the spaces for related arts, special education, instructional resource, administration, counseling, and health. And that information is in our packets, and we will be reviewing that as it's presented in its entirety later tonight. And on July 15th, I met with the MABE Conference Program Committee to continue refining plans for this year's conference. And I do hope that everyone enjoys the last few weeks of summer and are gearing up to have a great new school year.
Thank you, Dr. Dorsey. Ms. Battaglia?
I spent the greater part of the last part of July and the beginning part of August at the Carroll County 4-H FFA Fair, between setup, beautification, getting the show arena prepared, bringing in all the animals, all the crafts. It was a very long, almost 2 weeks, and it was hot. And if anybody has been to Disney and you've heard the term Disney tired, well, fair tired goes along with that because it is exhausting. I want to congratulate all those that participated, entered various projects, and showed livestock on a fantastic but very hot week. The cake auction was a huge success. My daughters both had their cakes in the cake auction, so that was very exciting for her. The livestock auction was a huge success, and the entire fair was a huge success. I do want to congratulate, again, all those that participated, those that received scholarships, various FFA, 4-H scholarships, and ones that are from the Community Foundation. A lot of kids received those. Some received some from last year as well, and they can continue as long as they're in 4-H. Many students entered their 4-H careers, which was emotional because my daughter was one of them. She will continue her ag programs in college. And make sure everyone do your thank you notes, as Ms. Marshall Herbert always says here. Make sure you do those thank you notes, and I put some in the mailbox this afternoon. I do want to thank all the buyers and those that donate to the 4-H and FFA programs. And a huge thank you to all the volunteers, especially CCEA. They were out there in the ice cream pavilion, so thank you guys for coming out and making a couple scoops there for everybody. The school system has many staff and teachers that volunteer their time for this fair, and I got to talk to quite a few of them. We have an amazing ag curriculum. And you can see that when you go to the fair, and you can see that with our students and staff that participate, and that ranges from the age of kindergarten all the way up to their 12th grade years. I do want to say good luck to all of our former students that are heading off to college. They're starting their careers or entering the workforce. Good luck on your new paths. And lastly, as summer winds down and back to school shopping is in full swing, Parents, do not hesitate to reach out to your child's new teacher or administrator with any questions or concerns you may have. See if there's anything that the school or the teacher's classroom may need. Open those lines of communication. And don't be afraid to let them know of anything your child may be going through. Join the PTA, PTO, or parent booster. Talk to your children about bullying and talk to them about coping strategies. Remember to be kind to yourself and others. And make sure to read the student parent handbook that is in the calendar. That is something we always try to make sure everyone does, make sure they look at and they understand some of the policies. And lastly, there is a public hearing coming up. If a lot of people had talked about the power line proposal, make sure you do check out the Carroll County government website for when they are having those meetings so you can make your voices heard. And everyone have a great year.
All right, and we will have any information from the student rep.
All right, so August has been pretty busy now that SGAs have been ramping up. So on August 7th, I went to Maryland Association Student Council's executive board meeting. We had 3 people from Carroll County get workshop certified at this meeting. So we started planning for a lot of events. So we went through the calendar for Fall Leadership Conference, Winter Leadership Conference, and then our annual convention, which will be held at Ocean City this year. On Monday, August 12th, I went to MABE's new SMOB Straub orientation in Annapolis. So I met with other SMOBs across Maryland and heard about their own counties and how different they were to ours and how similar they were. And all in all, it was a very helpful way to learn about the scopes and abilities of being Straub as well as what MABE does as a whole. Wednesday, that's today. Wednesday, August 14th, this afternoon, was Carroll County's first staff and executive board meeting. This was more of an introductory meeting, so we got to know each other. We went over our calendar of events for our general assemblies, which will be held at Winners Mill, Century, and FSK this year. And then we talked about our annual events as well. Upcoming on August 23rd, we have our next CCSGA Executive Board as well as our CCSGA Advance on the 29th, and registration will be sent out by Mr. Melhorn, our SGA advisor, tomorrow. And I would also like to say good luck to all of our fall athletes during tryouts, which started today. It is not easy being in the hot, blistering sun or waking up at 6 in the morning, but I would just like to say good luck to all of those athletes. Thank you.
Thank you. It's hard to believe that summer's almost over and the beginning of the new school year is right around the corner. Tomorrow, we have the new teacher orientation at Century High School. It's always a pleasure to welcome our new teachers. We thank them for choosing Carroll County Public Schools and wish them well as they begin their teaching careers. But I have to say, I have to thank this board for passing the budget and getting our salaries at $60,000. That helped us get to the point where we need, I think you said, Mr. Ernesto, 2 people next semester, is that correct? Yes. That has not happened in 4 or 5 years before Donna and I were even on the board. And I think they're highly qualified, and I am so happy for that. On Monday, August 26th, teachers report back to the classroom, and Tuesday, September 3rd is the first day of school. We are often asked if things slow down during the summer, and that is definitely a no. I can tell you they don't. In fact, summer is an incredibly busy time for many of our departments, especially plant and maintenance operation. And we have 35 openings in that group, and that's where we're lacking right now. We had 40 and we've got down to 35. If you need a job, please call and we will find you a spot at a school, plus always bus drivers. Don't forget that. Mm-hmm. You would not believe the amount of time that goes on into preparing our schools for a new year. There is so much that needs to be done in a very short time. On behalf of the board, I want to thank everyone for their hard work this summer in helping us prepare for the beginning of the school year. I would especially like to thank Joey Morningstar, who is our Supervisor of Facilities, Maintenance, and Operation, for taking the time to meet with me last week. We had a great meeting, and I appreciate the time talking to him and taking the time out of his busy day, and I did really learn a lot. Best of luck for everyone for their first day of school, and let's make this one a good one. Now I have to do a public service announcement. 4 years ago, I came down with shingles, and I have told everybody to make sure to get their shingles shot. Well, 3 weeks ago, I ended up with skin cancer on my nose. My acupuncturist, who's a North Carroll graduate, Arrowhead, Brittany Phillips, said that I had 2 funny spots on my back. It wasn't my back that was a problem. She said it was my nose. So I'm telling you, after 40 years of teaching phys ed and being out in the sun every weekend horse showing, I am telling you, even a little spot may be bad, but I will tell you, you need to get those things checked. Do not put them off. And since I had my surgery, I couldn't go to the fair, but I've given my doctor's number out 4 times to people that they think they have spots on their face, on their hands, on their shoulders. So please, I'm doing maybe one of my last public announcements, but it is very important to get yourself checked once a year. I do, but this other stuff came up, and here we are. So no radiation. I was lucky. My sister had to have it, but that's it. So now we will move on. So, but I'm just down to, yes, it affects everyone. Dr. McCabe, you're on.
All right. First this evening, I'd like to congratulate Emma Harris, a social studies teacher at East Middle School, who's been named the 2024 Maryland History Teacher of the Year by the Gilder Lehrman Institute of American History. Emma teaches 8th grade U.S. history, advises student government, and mentors aspiring and new teachers. She excels in curriculum development, evidence-based practice, and classroom teaching. She serves as a content liaison, workshop director, and Stevenson University liaison and tutors at a local homeless shelter. As one of 53 award finalists, Emma will receive a $1,000 prize and a collection of classroom resources. I also would like to share that 2 of our students were awarded for their submissions to America's Field Trip, a new nationwide scholastic contest encouraging students to reflect on what America means to them. Congratulations to Peony Kang from Liberty High School, who received first place for her essay in the high school division, and Robin Sommerfelt from Mount Airy Middle School, who earned second place for her artwork in the middle school division. The America's Field Trip Contest is part of America 250, a nonpartisan initiative working to engage every American in commemorating the 250th anniversary of our country. Each first place awardee will take part in a special field trip experience at one of America's iconic historical and cultural sites. Second place awardees will receive a $500 cash award. It's hard to believe, but we are well into August and the new school year is upon us. As Ms. Herbert just said, we will be welcoming our new teachers tomorrow as they begin their orientation. It is always exciting to see the anticipation on the faces of these teachers who are just beginning their teaching careers or are coming to us from other school systems. I look forward to speaking to the group and welcoming them to Carroll County tomorrow morning. And finally, speaking of back to school, we are happy to be partnering with WBAL again this year for the Stuff the Bus School Supplies Drive, which will be held next Thursday, August 22nd, from 2 to 7 p.m. at the Walmart Supercenter in Sykesville. We encourage you to stop by and pick up a few school supplies to benefit our students and to enjoy performances by some of our marching bands and cheer teams. The supply list is posted on our website at carrollk12.org under News and Announcements.
Well, thank you. And moving on, and we have a few reports. And our first one is we need a report on the Carroll County Community Advisory Council agenda topics and action plan for 2024-2025.
Board Policy and Administrative Regulations, BDF, advisory councils to the board require that each council report on the annual topics and action plans for the year. In many ways, these topics are also forecast to the board at the June meeting when each council reports out on the work of the council for the prior year. The first 7 items under reports are the meeting topics and plans for each of the respective councils. The staff liaison for each council is available for any questions or discussion you may have for any of these reports.
All right. So the first one? Okay. First one is the Carroll County Community Advisory. Ms. Savigny.
I just had some general, on my mic here, just some general questions across all of the groups. I think a couple of years ago, we had instituted some comments at the end of the board meeting saying, okay, you know, if there are particular topics that we're addressing, like, is this something that would be good to go to CAC or good to go to one of the other boards? I'd like to recommend reinstituting that, maybe have a specific agenda item at the end of every meeting, just to say, okay, is this a topic that would be good to send to one of our board committees? Just so that we're constantly thinking about
Right.
what would be the things that we want feedback on.
Yeah, we can certainly do that, and I know that because we've been thinking about what kinds of things would be good for CAC to discuss and give input on, it really has made a difference in.
Yes, it has.
I think in the discussions that you're able to have at CAC and in the input that they're able to bring here to the board. So yes, we can put that back on the agenda to think about.
Okay, great.
Ms. Pataglia.
I was going to say, that's an excellent idea. You know, because oftentimes there's things that we have to decide on or we get reports on, and then come the end of the meeting, we're like, okay, then we just like, well, what if this could be something that could be discussed in one of the committees? So I think perfect example would be put on, you know, number 7 on the agenda under discussion, which is right before the end of the meeting. That way we can say, is there anything we think that can be on any of the committees for discussion at that point?
Yep.
Sounds great.
I like it. Do we need to make a motion on that or anything?
No, that's just something I can
Okay.
do it, you know.
All right, does anyone have any comments on the Carroll County Community Advisory Council agenda, topics, and action plan?
Oh, no, I was just generally going to say, I think a couple of years ago, we had also talked about, like at the end of the year, kind of getting reports. I know we get a report at the end of every year, but we were talking about trying to get some of the representatives or the chair of each one of those committees to kind of come in and come before the board to get, I mean, our community folks put in so much effort and, you know, they're really engaged and I'd love to give them an opportunity to actually kind of present in front of the board rather than it just being a piece of paper that we're reading. I know that we talked about doing that, we almost did it, and then I think we got sidetracked by Blueprint, I think
Probably.
is what happened. But I'd also like to kind of recommend that for, you know, like, okay, so we've basically said, you know, as we go through these and approve the topics, right, like, okay, well, we'd love to have you come in at the end of the year and discuss with us what you found on those topics and what general community feedback is.
Okay, got it.
All right, therefore, do we have any comments on the Carroll County Community Advisory Council? All right. We will move on to the report on the Carroll County Teachers Advisory Council agenda topics and action plan. All right, now we will move on to the report on the Carroll County Career and Technical Education Local Advisory Council agenda topics and action plan. Okay. Whoops, Ms. Pataglia?
I just kind of wanted, making sure that we are touching on the different areas of career possibilities within our school system. Recently, you know, with discussions I've had with various people regarding the fire departments and EMT, like how our students can be involved in that and working towards a career path on that one too. So I do want to make sure that's kind of also in discussions with this group too. You know, breed our own teachers, but we also want to breed our own fire and EMS, which I think is an incredible, you know, we should be utilizing that. You know, the workforce development, excuse me, you know, making sure we are touching on those areas, you know, for anything that our students can latch onto to get where they want to go in life.
Okay. Yeah, we can certainly add that to the discussion.
Ms. Savigny?
Okay, that's a great idea. I was just looking at the data work session that's planned for the third meeting of the year. Do we know what type of data they're looking at and what they're trying to understand there?
For which,
So this is for Career Tech.
Career Tech.
It's
That's
on
what we're
the third meeting where it says the data work session.
that's a good question. Mr. Warnick?
It's actually, we look at Perkins and our Perkins grant and the data that we receive through the state on our completer programs and students who are taking certain programs, how we're using the materials, and then it's really looking at then what do we need to fund through the grants that are provided through MSDE based on the data that we have.
Okay. So is that something that would come back to the board as a recommendation, or does that happen without any need for board approval?
If it's over a certain budget amount, but since it's a grant and there are certain parameters around the grant, just like any other grant, Title I, any federal or state grant, we follow the grant procedures and the policies within then to then purchase those materials. And it may be as simple as we're just updating some of the materials that we have there that are outdated, or it may be that there's something new within the field that we may be purchasing.
Okay.
That maybe our county isn't able to purchase, but through the grant, we're able to purchase.
Okay. All of that information would be included in the report back to the board at the end of the year, like what the findings are and the actions that were taken?
Correct.
Okay, because I think that would be great information for the board to understand.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
great, thank you.
Thank you. All right, now we will move on to the report on the Carroll County Curriculum Council agenda topics and action plan for 2024-2025. The dates are in front of us. Anybody have any comments or questions? All right, we will move on now to 5E, report of the Carroll County Special Education Citizens Advisory Committee agenda topics. Seeing none, we will move on.
Ms. Herbert, could I just ask a quick
Sure.
question? Not for this particular one, but so for each one of the committees, the dates are already announced on here. But for a lot of them, we'll be approving approving the committee membership later on this evening. Is there leeway for, like, if any of the committees realize that one of those dates is problematic for a large portion of the membership, is there leeway for them to change
Yes.
those dates? Okay,
Yeah, this is just the plan.
okay, great.
All right. Seeing no other comments, we'll move on to 5F, report on the Carroll County Security Advisory Council agenda topics and action plans. Seeing none, we will move on to 5G, report on the Carroll County Family Life Advisory Committee agenda topics for 2024-25. Seeing none, we will move on to 5H. We are moving on to the school construction report. Dr. McCabe.
The monthly construction report details the status of the various projects we have underway in either construction or design. Two of the projects, the additions for Freedom Elementary and Sykesville Middle, appear later on the agenda for action, and we'll comment more on them at that time. Mr. Marks is available for any questions you have at this time.
Ms. Savigny.
Hey, Mr. Marks. No, just a couple of quick questions. So, I mean, we're really coming down to the sort of a historic moment in terms of the career in tech, where it's going to be finished after 4 long years. Same thing with East Middle, with all the finishing touches on that. Just want to say, job well done on all of these things. I feel like we should have some sort of massive celebration that, like, it's done, like it's in the books.
We've had some amazing people and teams, contractors, everybody making it all happen for both projects. But
Great. It's so exciting because I think we actually, for the career in tech, I mean, it's basically been almost the entire time, Ms. Herbert, that you and I have been on the board, that this has been, like, we've been kind of working on this project and trying to get it forward. So it's just so exciting that it's finally going to be
Starting
done.
with the money. And the thank you goes to you
well,
and your group.
well, thank you. The group has made it happen. We all have made it happen.
And the
as a
man
team.
sitting back there in the back
Yeah.
that doesn't
Pro
like to get
cops
up.
help.
Yeah, he doesn't come up a lot.
Yeah. It's the current tech being a 4-year project, phase occupied, has been one of the hardest projects we have ever done as a group. And
But it's turned
they've
out
done a
great.
great job.
Yeah.
Yeah, the coordination has been absolutely phenomenal. We do understand the difficulties with a 4-year phased project. And so, job
Thank-
well done.
Thank you very much.
Just a couple of other quick questions, but just on the Mount Airy Elementary HVAC replacement, it looks like only about 20% of the project was able to be done in Phase 1. Is
Yeah.
it feasible to be able to do the remaining
Oh, yes.
80% in Phase 2?
Yes, a lot of what they've done, even though it hasn't been, the 20% could be higher, has been preparing so that the next summer it's faster. So a lot of what they've done this summer is helping them prepare. So it may not be piped with chilled water running through it or heating water, but things have been done to help us out for next summer. So we're going to be in good shape.
Okay, okay, great. And then one of the questions I had on the pre-K additions, I mean, this is just kind of teeing it up, right, as part of the school construction report that'll be
Right.
ongoing. But just curious if we have any feel for what the expected state participation is going to be like on that, because, I mean, basically, it's unless it's 100% state participation, it's kind of like an unfunded mandate, right?
Right. Mr. Kane's putting it in the CIP that you all are seeing, upcoming for that funding. And you'll see how we've spread out our state requests on those.
Okay.
So it's going to be interesting, but, we don't see a huge problem with them funding them. We just might have to spread some out if we have to,
Okay.
But we'll decide that as we get further into design to figure out, how we'd have to break the projects up or take a couple away and move them over a little bit. So we'll be able to handle that.
Okay. Another phased project, but a phased project in a different way, right? Like, it's not
Yes.
phases on one building, it's across many different buildings.
Correct. We'd like to do them so that we can start separating the work in the first summer. So we're safely separated from the students and staff of the building, so we don't disrupt them as much. It's going to be disruptive, but we'll minimize that. And then as that work carries on behind the scenes throughout that year, we'll finish up in the following summer.
Okay. I mean, potentially with up to 22,
Yes.
additions that would have to be phased anyway, because you just can't
Correct.
manage that many projects at one
Yes.
time.
Yes. Yeah, you're exactly right. Yeah,
Okay,
we'll
so
be-
there'll be a full kind of project plan of
Yes.
exactly how this is going to be.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
That's why we're starting with that 5 and 6, additions right now, and then we'll gear up for the next bunch after that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Anything else?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Thanks.
And now we will move on to the personnel transaction report. Dr. McCabe.
I have 2 items to announce as part of the personnel transaction report. The first is Mr. Brian Booz from principal at Century High School to principal at Winters Mill High School. And secondly, Ms. Shannon Mobley, principal at Francis Scott Key High School to principal at Century High School.
Great moves. Wish them the best. They'll do great jobs. All right, now we will move on to the action items. I need a motion for the approval of the Carroll County Special Education Citizens Advisory Committee membership 2024-2025
So moved.
by Dr. Dorsey, seconded by Ms. Savigny.
Just as they require that we provide meeting topics each August, Board Policy and Administrative Regulations, BDF, advisory councils to the board also require that we bring recommendations for council members for your approval. Each of the next 7 items are the recommended rosters for each board-appointed council. We will need you to approve all 7 individually. As with the reports on meeting topics, the staff liaison for each council is present for any questions or discussion. Additionally, each council typically has 1 or 2 board members serve as representatives on the council. Since we have an upcoming election in November, it may be prudent to keep the board member, the current board members on the committees that they're currently on, since we're going to you'll have to re-vote on that in December anyway. But as we go through these and you approve each one individually, you may want to, if you want to change any alternates or anyone like that, please feel free to do so.
Okay. All right. And, yes, sir.
I'd like to offer an amendment.
Mr. Whistler.
I move that we amend the motion to include myself as an alternate for the Special Education Citizens Advisory Committee.
Need a,
It doesn't have an alternate.
yes,
so-
right. Okay.
I'll second that
I
motion.
second that motion, okay. So, any other comments or questions? I call for the vote with the amendment. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously. Now I need a motion for the approval of the Carroll County Security Advisory Council membership 2024-2025.
So moved.
So moved by Ms. Battaglia, seconded by
I'll second.
Mr. Whistler. Comments, questions? I call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously. Now I need a motion for the approval of the Carroll County Career and Technical Education Local Advisory Council membership 2024-2025. So moved by Dr. Dorsey, seconded
I'll second.
by Ms. Battaglia. Seeing none?
Ms. Battaglia, you're staying on as board rep, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously. Now I need a motion for the approval of the Carroll County Curriculum Council membership 2024-2025
So moved.
by Ms. Battaglia, seconded by Mr. Whistler.
Board members, I want to make sure also, if anybody wanted to be the rep alternative for that one,
Which one? For this one?
for the curriculum council, yes.
Madam President, I'd like to
Yes.
offer an amendment that I be listed as an alternate
Okay.
for this committee.
And I need a
And
second.
I will second that.
Okay. Okay, I call for the vote with the amendment. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously. Now I need a motion for the approval of the Carroll County Teachers Advisory Council membership 2024-2025
So moved.
by Ms. Battaglia, seconded by
I'll second that.
by Dr. Dorsey.
Madam President, I'd like to offer an amendment, correction. Board members, I believe I should be listed as the primary rep for the board, and again, my colleague, Dr. Dorsey, being the alternate.
Okay, I need a second.
I'll second that.
All right. Okay, seeing nothing else, I call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously. Now I need approval of the Carroll County Community Advisory Council membership 2024-2025
So moved.
by Ms. Battaglia, seconded by
I'll second.
Mr. Whistler.
And we need to add additional on there
motion.
that, I'm sorry, if I can please make a motion that President Herbert is listed as the alternative.
Okay.
I will second that.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously. Now I need a motion for the approval of the Family Life Advisory Committee membership for 2024-2025
So moved.
by Ms. Savigny and seconded by
I'll second.
Mr. Whistler.
And Ms. Herbert, I'd like to make a motion to add Mr. Whistler as the alternative for this committee.
Okay.
second.
Okay, all right. I call for the vote with an amendment. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously. Phew, that was a lot. Now I need a motion for the approval of before and after child care leases
So moved.
by Mr. Whistler,
I'll second.
by Ms. Battaglia.
Annually, you approve lease arrangements with the providers who hold before and after child care programs in our schools. Typically, these providers are selected by the PTA, PTO organization working collaboratively with the school administration. Our Director of Facilities Management applies a formula that covers building operating expenses.
Okay.
Ms. Savigny.
Superintendent McCabe, can you just remind me why the 5 schools don't have something?
So it's up to the PTA, PTO in each school to decide whether they want a before and after school care and whether there are enough students or families in the
go into
school
it.
that would, make one.
Okay. So there's not enough demand
Correct.
In those particular schools?
Right.
And in some of those areas, we have the Boys and Girls Club involved, and that's where some of the students would go. after school.
Any other comments or questions? I call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously. Now I need a motion for the approval of memorandum of understanding between the Board of Carroll of County Commissioners and the Board of Education regarding the sale and purchase of the Kessler Building.
So moved.
So moved by Ms. Pataglia, seconded by
I'll second.
Ms. Savigny.
We have been in discussions with Carroll County government for some time about transferring ownership of the Kessler Building, where facilities plant operations is based, from the county to the board. We have agreed to that transfer. This MOU establishes the conditions for the Board of Education to purchase the Kessler Building. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with the Kessler Building, it is our main storage facility. So without it, we would not have places to store for all kinds of furniture and equipment for our schools, as well as places to store for our food services program. And I'm sure there are lots of other things I'm forgetting. Records, all kinds of things are stored there. So it is vital to our operation.
And I was there the other day when I met Mr. Morningstar, and let me tell you, there are paper towels, there are trucks, there are chairs, there are benches, there are chairs from East Middle School there. You name it, it's stored there, and we have been using that building for a long, long time. And I am so thankful that we have the ability to take over that building. And let me tell you, Karen Sarno is unbelievable, and she has saved a lot of money, and she wants another new big freezer in there so she actually can back in tractor trailer loads of food, save Carroll County Public Schools more money. So this is a big integral part of our budget and saving money and for our schools. So it is a building that we have used, and we will be very happy that we can use the whole facility. Ms. Savigny.
And Ms. McCabe, could you explain for the public's sake, what are the benefits of purchasing this from the commissioners versus just continuing with our current arrangement?
Right. There are actually lots. I'll let Mr. O'Neill come up and talk about some of those.
Maybe a few financial benefits. Presently, it's a facility owned by the commissioners, so it shows up in our budget as an in-kind contribution. And so we'll be moving, we'll be assuming operations of a place where we've always been operating, but there is a budget transfer, which is already you accounted for when you adopted your FY25 budget. So budgetarily, it's taken care of. All of the things that Dr. McCabe mentioned are certainly true. But we have shared this space with the county government for quite some time, and so it's good to be able to work out a solution where they can meet their needs elsewhere, but we can expand to the full square footage footprint of the building. And so we will gain, I think, some cost savings, most notably what Mrs. Herbert just mentioned in terms of food services, a program that's already thriving, but also some efficiencies because we are limited right now in the portion of the building that we have access to for what we can warehouse, what we can have in stock and just in time deliver, that sort of thing. So it'll open up some access for us that way as well. The only other example that of how it is used today that I don't think we covered yet is that's where we base what we call plan operations, or essentially our school custodial program. And there is a tiny component out there of a training. There's a little, I guess, like a little computer lab and a training element there. We'll be able to maybe do some more and different things in that area as well, which is a pretty great need right now in our school system to onboard more custodians and give them maybe a different level of training going forward than we've been able to do in the past. Miss anything, Ray? Oh, I did miss something. Another, Ray is sticking up for Mr. Davis. Another way in which that facility is already used, and this allows us some room for growth or different ways, is that technology services, Mr. Davis's shop has a space out there where they house and work on different kinds of hardware and devices as well. So it opens up, if not some savings in every way, it certainly opens up some operational efficiencies.
Because I don't know where we would go.
Yeah, we need the space, and it's been a conversation over the years, and it's been a great partnership and an easy partnership. But there's been times over the years where the county had a little more need, and we would be asked to retract, and then we still had, so it'll I think it'll make solutions for everybody going forward that'll be helpful all the way around.
Okay. All right, I call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously. Now I need a motion for the approval of the Carroll County Health Department contract vision hearing screening
So moved.
by Dr. Dorsey and seconded by Ms. Battaglia.
By state law, we are required to provide vision and hearing screening to students. This agreement with the Health Department provides cost sharing between our two agencies to provide screening for the 2024-25 school year, and this is the regular screening that we do each year.
Okay, can you remind me again who we actually screen? I think it used to be our kindergartners and new students and special ed students, but. are there others
Mr. Shockney?
included?
I'm going to look to Dr. Farver because Mr. Streeter is not with us this evening. I know it is our kindergartners, our first graders, and new students to us. And then Ms. Gramata is saying our eighth graders as well.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks.
We had to quickly count those fingers, Ms.
Yeah.
Well, we saw them sideways.
Mr. Whistler.
Just a quick question. I noticed that the fiscal impact said not applicable, but, I mean, is this fall within budget? There's no, it say cost sharing. Is there a specific dollar figure, or is it within current budget?
Oh, yeah, it's, yeah.
Mr. O'Neill just said it's the same as in, I think it's the same as in previous years. This is our annual, this is the regular annual training that we do every year with the.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously. Now I need a motion for the approval of the Baltimore Board of Officials for Women's Sports BBOWS volleyball contract.
So moved.
So moved by Dr. Dorsey, seconded by Ms. Battaglia.
This contract is to provide officials for all home varsity and junior varsity volleyball contests, including scrimmages.
What does a varsity official get paid?
$88,
And how about JV?
$71.
All right. You knew I was going to ask that.
Yes, ma'am, I
Yeah,
did.
because, I'm soon going to be gone, and I'm not going to stay at that farm all the time, so,
Fair enough.
looking for a job.
On it.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, okay, that's right. There's a waiting period. Sorry about that. All right, any other comments or questions? Call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Don't go anywhere. Thank you. It passes unanimously. How did first day go?
Very well.
Okay.
Numbers are up. Numbers are up across the county.
Great.
Everything's looking good. It's a good start. Weather was obviously cooperated quite well.
Lovely.
So it makes it a lot easier for the heat acclimatization
Right.
period for all of our outdoor sports. So we're very excited
Oh,
about the
that's
upcoming
good.
year.
That's great. Thanks.
Yes, ma'am.
Now I need a motion for the approval of educational specification for the Freedom Elementary Addition Project. By Mr. Whistler, seconded by? By Ms. Battaglia.
These next two items are part of our CIP. When the board received the final report from the Southern Area Redistricting Committee, also known as SARC, in 2023, the decision was made to move forward with the two capital addition projects, 5 classrooms at Freedom Elementary and 13 classrooms at Sykesville Middle, and then re-examine enrollment and capacity data once the additions were complete and the impacts of Blueprint were better understood. Both additions were adopted into the Educational Facilities Plan in June of 2023 before making their way into the CIP in October 2023. The projects were approved by the Board of County Commissioners, allowing us to begin the planning process. Construction planning committees were formed to develop educational specifications for the projects. Committees included school staff, parents, and representatives from the state and county government. Additionally, board members Battaglia and Whistler are on the committee, and I want to thank you for your service. Educational specifications define the space in a construction project to best align with the educational programming needs. This is a required step in the project development and design process and must be submitted to the State Interagency Commission on School Construction. The document informs the more detailed design stages that follow on the path to construction. One thing to note regarding the Freedom Elementary addition is that enrollment projections in the years since SARC concluded, upon which the options for addition were based, show that Freedom's enrollment will continue to increase. This trend, combined with current staffing formulas, suggests that Freedom may become more ideal for a 5-teacher per team school than a 4-teacher per team school, which is what was envisioned with the addition option from the SARC report. So depending on your responses as board members, this has implications for whether relocatables will be required after the project concludes and whether additional funding to address more space needs may be needed. So we'll talk about the Freedom project, and then we can move on to approval of the Sykesville project. And we have Bill here to help answer any questions that you have.
Mr. Whistler.
I just have a comment, not a question, Bill. But, well, first of all, Mr. Kane, thank you so much for your leadership in driving this train. I really appreciate it. And also Principal Smith and the teachers and the parents involved. We hope you're getting what you want and what you need. But it's just my first time doing this. I know Dr. Dorsey, this is old hat to you. You've done this a few times, but I learned a lot, and I hope everybody is getting what they need and what they want, and we're squeezing every dollar out and maximizing it to the best we can. But thank you.
Ms. Savigny.
Oh, I did just have I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Just
get the
a
part up.
couple of quick questions and comments. I just wanted to note on page 3 of the construction, on the ed specs, it says East Middle School, so it
Yes.
should say Freedom Elementary
We
there.
corrected it to.
Oh, you did? Okay, I didn't see that. Okay. I don't have a corrected version. But on page 16, I was curious, so it says the design considerations should be based on an average class size of 25. I know that from a state-rated capacity perspective, it's 23. Are we basically saying that we want all of our classrooms to be for 25, or just these new ones for 25?
So it's just a recognition that the actual class sizes the average is closer to 25. State-rated capacity is one, that number is used to calculate capacity. It's not used by CCPS to staff.
Mm-hmm.
So the reality is the state-rated capacity of any classroom might say one thing, but how many kids are actually in the room is something different. We just want to make sure the architect knows they need to have enough room to accommodate an average class size of 25 students, and potentially, if that's an average, you could have more than 25 in some of the grades.
Okay. So in the additional round of classes that we would be adding, so we might, if the enrollments continue to increase, right, and we're still butting up against that 100% capacity or more, does that mean that we would still spread the so all the classes would be of the same size, or would we be expecting to have more kids in these new classrooms because they're a little bit bigger than others, or we'd be shooting for 25 for each one of the classes?
The size of the classrooms is spec'd to be similar to the size of the current classrooms at Freedom Elementary. So the existing classrooms vary between 850 and 900 square feet. So we're trying to make them about the same size, but.
Okay.
It's dangerous to try to follow Bill Kane, who's the most knowledgeable person on all of these things. But to your question, Mrs. Savigny, it means something, and I think the superintendent was alluding to that in her opening remarks. It might mean that class sizes are bigger. It might mean that a decision is then made for the portables, the relocatables, to remain after the addition. That has some consequence for how the project was originally envisioned, maybe in terms of parking, bus loops, et cetera. It would mean something if enrollments continue to trend that way, or turn out to be that turns out to be the reality. Those things don't have to be decided tonight, but the superintendent certainly wanted to alert the board, as the committee is aware, that that's what the enrollment projections are now showing. It could mean I guess it could also mean theoretically that the Board of Ed choose to reconsider the scope of the project in your next CIP cycle. That's, I suppose, a different way to look at it. Or it could mean there's, if that could be true, a little more urgency to the original decision of the board, which was to start with the projects, and then once they're complete, the additions, look at enrollments in the south area and see what it means. It would mean that obviously there's a little more urgency to that at the end of construction than maybe we thought 3 years ago. Does that make sense?
It does, it does. And remind me whether the removal of the, like, so if we're assuming that the addition would allow for not needing the relocatables anymore, does the plan include deconstructing the relocatables that are there?
So currently, the 5-classroom addition is adding 4 classrooms and a pre-K classroom. There are currently 6 relocatable classrooms there. The relocatable classrooms would have to remain based on current projections and our current staffing model. The monkey wrench, or the problem is blueprint compliance could potentially alter staffing. Classrooms are needed for number of staff and number of homerooms, not necessarily exactly 23 students per classroom like the state rated capacity is calculated. It's really about how many homerooms you need. Based on projections in our current staffing formula, the 5-classroom addition would be short in number of classrooms needed for the number of homerooms required. So right now, the plan would be to leave the portables in place, not knowing what is to come. And that's the concern the principal raised on the committee at the time we were considering, and that's why the comment is in there. So it's,
as far as timing overall goes, the other element of, or another element of the board's original decision, which was to let's move forward with these 2 additions and get that out of the way for a few years, and then see where we are with enrollments afterwards and see what we've learned about Blueprint. Your CIP process in some ways essentially starts with your educational master plan in May and before you vote on a CIP in October. So that would be a little bit ahead of where we are as a system with understanding better and more deeply the consequences of Blueprint. So the superintendent has a committee of many working hard on working out the strategies and processes that we believe with what we know now would be required to comply fiscally with Blueprint, but that work won't be completed until the calendar year turns over. So your CIP vote would come in advance of that. So there's a lot of moving parts here, but we did feel it was important to let you know the enrollment numbers moved from the time you made your first decision.
Do you have, Dr.
No,
Dorsey?
I'm good.
I think you've pretty much hit on all the things I wanted to bring up, because again, I wanted to follow up with what Dr. McCabe had shared, because I know we were impacted a lot with the unknowns of the Blueprint, certainly. But at the beginning of the plan, we were thinking that by adding these classrooms onto the building, that we wouldn't need the portable there. So again, we've got all these moving parts that, again, I just see it as a real challenge, and I don't really see freedom being satisfied appropriately, so to speak. I mean, even with the additions, with those 4 classrooms that we're putting in, with the enrollment as it is, and then with still needing the portable, and again, I just think the unknowns have come back, and it's presented more of a challenge as far as I'm concerned. We talked earlier about the challenges of the actual lot that the school is on. I mean, I know we're limited because of that, but I don't know. I just don't know that we're doing freedom justice at this point.
Ms. Battaglia?
I was just going to comment kind of the same thing that you had just said, Dr. Dorsey, like that's concerning now. I mean, I know the community has made it very, very, very well known they don't want to redistrict. Like, do not redistrict us. Do what you need to do to figure it out, but don't redistrict us. We like where we are. And personally, I hate the portables. I think they are, they're a safety issue in this day and age. You know, we try to do away with them. only use them as needed. I'm not proposing anything at this moment, but I will say, I mean, I do think we need to go ahead with the plan because of the pre-K particularly. We need to make sure that's in place per blueprint. But maybe once all is said and done, we might have to look at redistricting at that point. I don't know if I will be here or not at that time, but, I mean, I do think it's something that everyone needs to kind of like just be aware of. That's in the back of their mind, like it's something we might have to still do, even though with the, one way or another, something needs to be done. But I mean, we do need to do the pre-K because of blueprint. I think that's a definite need, requirement that we have to follow through with. But I mean, it's a toughie. I mean, I know we had looked at different ways of adding to the building, whether it would be to the front or, how we could do it one in the back. And I know the front was a concern regarding a lot of the waterways and making sure, there's no flooding. And again, the size of the property, it's hard.
Mr. O'Neill?
And Ms. Pataglia, that great points and great questions, and it doesn't nullify what Dr. Dorsey just said either. We're not exactly where we would have hoped to be right now with enrollment projections and timing, but the standing decision that the board made at the time of the SARC report was there was not an expectation, I don't think, from anybody, including the board, that these two additions were the complete solution. It was, you have to start somewhere, so we're going to do these two things, and then we'll see. What do we know about Blueprint? Where are enrollments, not just at Freedom, but in the region? And it was open to the board at that time to, when we get to that moment, when we're looking at new data, at the most current data after the additions, does that mean something for redistricting? Does that mean an additional or an extra strategic addition here or there, and some it was to come back to it and see what it is. So we're not at a different place than your original decision. There's some more urgency attached to that, or some more impact attached to that decision because of how enrollment projections have continued to grow.
Yeah, I think we're in that situation of building the plane while you're already in flight, right? Where we felt like these two things had to be done as initial steps, like they're going to have to be done in order to not have to move massive swaths of kids, right, as in a redistricting effort. That doesn't mean that after we get done with this, that there still won't have to be maybe more minor redistricting associated with it because things have changed in the meantime. But we felt like these had to be done as at least, some early steps, right, to fix the problem. Yeah. So, but it's probably good to make the community aware that like this doesn't necessarily completely solve the problem, right? Like we're going to need to reassess again in a couple of years.
I agree. This is not the end all, but Blueprint's going to play a big part of this down the road, moving teachers around, and but we definitely need to move on with these two projects.
Yeah. I just, again, wanted to pick up on the challenge.
You are, that's exactly, yeah, yep. Thank you.
And
Ms. Pataglia?
real quick, I know one thing I did hear from the community is, well, why can't we just build a new school? And you have to have the property for it. There has to be county-owned property that is large enough to build a new school. That is something that they do not have down there to do. And that takes a lot more planning, a lot more money. And you have to have a plan in place to what is going to happen to that other building, the current building, because then it becomes county property and then would be in what the county went through in 2015. So I do want the community to understand that too. Like I have heard that, well, just build a new school, but you just can't because you have to have the property for it.
Okay, seeing no other comments, I call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously. Now I need a motion for the approval of the educational specifications for the Sykesville Middle Addition project.
So moved.
By Ms. Pataglia this time, seconded by Dr. Dorsey.
So I've provided some background on both of these projects with my remarks on the Freedom educational specifications. This action is to approve educational specs for a 13 classroom addition which was approved from the options in the SARC report. Again, the committee consisted of a parent, school staff, and representatives from the state and county government. I want to thank Dr. Dorsey and Mr. Whistler for their service on this committee as well.
All right, Ms. Savigny.
Sure. I have to admit, I was struggling with this one a little bit more than the Freedom Edition ed specs. The first reason is that, I was looking on page 4, and we're building to house 950 students, right? Like we were saying, 900 to 950, but the enrollments don't hit that level for quite some time, right? Like I know we have a lot of comfort with our 5-year projections, that those are pretty accurate, but things change over time, right? And the 10-year aren't quite as accurate. So I'm concerned that if we build to a capacity of 950 and our enrollments aren't there, will we not have enough state participation, first of all, right? Like, are we building in too much capacity and we won't get full state participation, and end up having to foot more of the bill ourselves, right, locally? So I just want to kind of put that out there. I know we had originally said that we had thought about an option A and an option B, and one was a smaller edition and the second one was a larger edition. We said, let's go with the larger edition because while we're in there, it's cheaper to do it all at once. But at that time, I think we were also talking about this being more of a $10 million project expectation, but with building costs ramping up so significantly, it's now in the CIP as an $18 million project for the bigger version of it. So I'm concerned about that. So just wanted to get your perspective on that, Mr. Kane.
So the state-rated capacity would be utilized in the state justification for how much they would participate in. So we would look at the projected enrollments versus compared to the state-rated capacities of the middle schools. In doing that already, we would get participation in the square footage that we anticipate from the scope study. So the square footage fits within how much the state would, square footage-wise, would participate in based on our numbers. We would be asking them to discount Mount Airy Middle in that calculation just because of the distance of redistricting. The state looks at adjacent schools and they add up all the capacities of the adjacent schools. We would be asking to discount Mount Airy Middle. Even if we had to count Mount Airy Middle, it would still be within the range of the square footage we're talking about. But if they were to agree that transporting kids from Sykesville over to Mount Airy is too far and we shouldn't count that as adjacent, then we'd be well within the state square footage that they participate in.
Okay, so if we built to 950 capacity, the state, we would still get, based on how all the formulas and considerations work, we would still get full participation by the state?
Yeah, they would participate in all the square footage. You know, their participation is always, it's a percentage of eligible costs, so it's not 100%, but the square footage they participate in would all be eligible. So
Okay.
our state local cost share right now is 54% of eligible costs. So
Right. So that would be I think it was 9 million was the expectation in the
Correct.
CIP,
So
9 of the 18 million.
they're going to be roughly around 50%. When you add
Right.
some of the other other costs that they don't participate in, it ends up being closer to 50%.
Okay. Right.
The other thing is that, the 950 really, 900 is kind of 300 kids per grade level is what the school would be set up for. There are 2 additional classrooms because there are times where 6th grade doesn't always come exactly at 300. Sometimes you have 340 and you're like, I need a couple extra classrooms. So we build in a couple of extra classrooms for those years where you have, fluctuations above, the typical enrollment. So, but, theoretically, it's set up for 300 per grade level. The extra 50 is really just some extra flex capacity. So,
Okay.
and we do reach 900 in the projections in 2027, based on the projections that were used for the master plan. So we're not that far away from hitting the 900.
Okay. My concern was maximized state participation, right? That I didn't want them coming back saying, oh, you've overbuilt, we're only participating in X number of square footage rather than the full amount. Okay, appreciate that explanation. I guess the other thing that I was struggling with a little bit is that we were saying we needed extra space, right? Like for it, so the administrative space, it was just for one AP, I think is what we would be adding, but it shows, you know, in the totals of the square footage, it shows the full administrative office suite, right? So the total of the square footage that we're talking about is 49,000, but the currently, Sykesville, if I was looking at the EFMP appropriately, says that the total square footage of the building is 100,000 square feet, right? So,
Right.
but this is, we're not actually saying we need to add all of this space. This is just saying what we need for those particular programs, but I don't understand of that 49,000, how much already exists.
Right, so we're giving the architect the programmatic targets. You know, we know that some of these are currently exist in the building. We know the principal has a current space and that the office has a workroom. We know there's an art classroom and we know there's a music classroom. We're giving them targets, and there is an increase in need for administrative offices. They're going to have to figure out the best way to go about adding that space. It could be a reconfiguration of current building space, or it could be adding additions on. We need to give them all of those requirements so that if they do choose to do a reconfiguration of existing, say they want to reconfigure the current counseling suite to become the health suite, well, now they have to duplicate the current counseling suite somewhere else, and they need to know how big each of those spaces should be. So, like, we're giving them as much information as possible so that when they're trying to develop their solutions, we're basically giving them at the end of the project, this is what our goal is, this is what the school needs to have. How you get there by using existing space and adding new is really up to them to figure out.
Okay.
And it's difficult to do, but if we were to say, nope, we just want you to add one AP office, and we just gave them that square footage, we're basically telling them to add an addition of an office, but that might not be the most efficient and economical way to add that office.
Right.
And it might be at the other end of the school.
Right. Understood. I guess I'm just trying to understand, like, in general, there's going to have to be some shifting, right, within the building. But do we think maybe half of the 49,000 is what would need to be added at the end of the day? Or?
So the target square footages are still going to be similar to what the study was. So if you go back to look at the study, which I can look it up real. Actually, I didn't bring it. Shoot. It is. So the addition is, I think, I'm going to throw numbers, but I'm probably wrong. I think it was in the 10 classroom addition was in the 20,000-ish square foot range, and then adding offices and some related arts was another 8,000-9,000, something in that range. So
Okay.
somewhere, I don't know that it was. If 49 is the total here, I'm not sure it's half. It might be slightly more than half, but it's somewhere in that range.
Okay.
And I can get. I apologize. I brought the feasibility study for Freedom because I anticipated that. I didn't anticipate the questions on cycle. That's my fault.
Sorry, Mr. Payne.
That's okay.
Never know about her. She's always got questions.
But the target will be for the architect to be close, somewhere around what the scope study was. Now, it's a new architect. We hired a different architect. They won the job. They may have a different way of going about it. There may be more renovation square footage, less addition square footage. So
Okay.
the renovation square footage, when the state's looking at it, they look at it differently than addition too. So we're in the very beginning. It's hard to say what it will be. That's why we hire the architect. That's why we go through the schematic design process. The goal of the educational specification was to kind of give them as much information as they needed to come up with the best solution. And it is tricky because some of these spaces are already in the school, but they may need to retask certain areas to be something else for adjacency reason, and then they need to build something that's already in the school might become part of the addition.
Right.
Just-
Okay. Yeah, I guess what I was just trying to connect the dots between the two documents, right? Where it's trying to understand that, because the cost estimate tends to be based on the additional square footage needed, right? But there's gonna
Well,
be
the
pieces of renovation or
renovation-
reconfiguring, so.
Renovation is part of the estimate too, like if we renovate 10,000 square feet, there's, that'll be multiplied times the cost per square foot. There'll be a number, there'll be millions of dollars associated with the renovation costs, so.
Right. But we're still overall trying to hit the 17.7 million or whatever for the full project that's in the CIP.
So there will be, in September, you will see the FY '26 CIP request. I'm currently working on the budget estimates based on the scope study, square footage, what the current architect's looking at, where we are now. But the goal, it's going to be around there. It could be higher. I mean, there are costs per square foot are going up. There's other market factors that we're looking at when we develop the budgets, but I would say it's targeted to be in that range, yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Kane, appreciate it.
Any other comments? I call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously. Now I need a motion for the approval of personnel action items. By Dr. Dorsey and seconded by? By Ms. Pataglia.
For the monthly personnel action items, there are 42 new hires, 7 rehired retirees, 1 release from contract, 1 promotion, 2 leaves of absence, 2 increases in FTE, and 1 decrease in FTE.
Comments, questions? And I see there's 6 already rehired, so. Seven, they're back at it. So I just want to make that comment. And I thank again the board for passing our budget that we did, because we've got some really fantastic teachers. So, and I thank the retirees that are coming back, because we need you too, because we can't function without you. I call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously. Now I need an motion for the approval of personnel appointments.
So moved.
By Dr. Dorsey, seconded by? By Ms. Pataglia.
I am recommending 3 appointments for you this evening. The first is Dave Herman, current assistant principal at Francis Scott Key High School, to acting principal at Francis Scott Key High School. Kelly May, reading specialist at Elmer Wolf Elementary, to assistant principal Robert Moten Elementary. And finally, Lauren Ricketts, social studies teacher at Gateway School, to acting assistant principal Francis Scott Key High School.
And if anybody was wondering, Mr. Herman has been in our system for a long time, and yes, he just received his vice principalship, but he is moving on up, and he has been in our system a long time, and he does know our system very well. So I call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously. Congratulations. Now I need a motion for the approval of award of bids. So moved. By Mr. Whistler, seconded by Ms. Pataglia.
All right, there are 6 items on the award of bids this evening. First is the repair and resurface of the stage floor at Westminster High School. Based on a prior inspection, we have been upgrading stages in the high schools. This summer, we've been working at Westminster High School. This award is to repair and refinish the stage floor, and will use the local CIP infrastructure renewal project. Second, we have a chiller replacement at Winters Mill High School. The chillers at Winters Mill are at the end of their useful life. One of the 2 chillers has been an ongoing maintenance challenge, and this award is to replace that chiller and will use the local CIP infrastructure renewal project. Next, we have a fire alarm replacement at Cranberry Station. We utilized emergency procurement to replace the fire alarm at Cranberry Station, which had failed. Next, we have the employee and retiree dental benefits. The provider contract for employee dental benefits is expiring, and an RFP was issued for a new contract. At the same time, at the request of the Retired Teachers Association, we agreed to issue the RFP with an option to include retirees in the coverage. We are recommending the award to Cigna, which is the incumbent provider, for a new contract. The new contract represents a reduction in fees of 8.5%, and there is no increase in fees for including retirees. Next, we have the employee and retiree vision benefits. Likewise, our employee vision coverage is expiring and an RFP was issued for future services. As with dental benefits, we issued the RFP with an option to include retirees in the plan. We are recommending an award to National Vision Administrators. The new contract will lower fees by over 20%, which includes retirees being covered. And lastly, we've got the sole source No Red Ink. This award is for a 1-year license to provide No Red Ink, a digital tool to support student writing skills, which will be integrated into the writing curriculum for English 9, 10, and 11. Questions?
Thank you.
I do have my
Miss-
card up.
Oh, you do. You're first. Very good.
Thank you.
Dr. Dorsey.
Yes, I would like to make an amendment to the motion. I would like to pull items 4 and 5 from the entire list of items that we have to vote on. I need to be recused from those two since I would be directly affected. So I would like to vote on numbers 1, 2, 3, and 6 and be recused from 4 and 5.
A second.
Put me in there too. So, you, okay.
Okay, so we'll vote for the
The motion,
amendment, and we'll separate those two, and then have separate discussions
have-
for the
yes,
two groupings.
because-
Okay.
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Dorsey.
Sure.
All right, any comments? So then I have to vote, we have to vote on that first? Okay, I call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously. I didn't have to say anything, thank you.
Okay, so we should focus our discussions on everything
1, 2,
except
3.
1,
4 and
2,
5.
Correct.
3,
And 6.
and 6.
So, Madam President, I move we accept motions 1, 2, 3, and 6.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay, and Ms. Pataglia second that. All right, any other comments, questions?
I do, if I could
Okay,
just ask
sure.
one question on okay, I do have a question on number 2.
Okay, you said one, just one question?
I have two,
I caught you.
you did.
Yes, I did.
So on number 2 for the HVAC systems, the replacing the one chiller for $429,000. So this is a system that's at 23 years old. Is it a system that's up for full replacement sometime in our schedule?
Eventually, but not on a timeline where we believe we could forego replacing this chiller.
Okay, so this isn't wasted money because we can't front end that.
Correct, and the
Okay.
chiller's been a significant issue, particularly at the beginning of both of the last school years. And I believe it was new teacher orientation last year was there. If anyone was there, you would remember, people are nodding. It was a very uncomfortable time, and that's been a pattern, and we're pouring a lot of maintenance hours into just sort of trying to limp this thing along. So,
Okay.
Ray's decision, his team, is that it's time to make this happen.
Okay, and this will help it potentially limp along until it can come up in the cycle in
Correct.
6 or 7 years on the CIP.
This was sort of on our radar and kind of planned into the local infrastructure renewal account remaining funds as you repopulated it in this last budget year as well. So this was a fiscal known that Ray was working around fitting into that project account anyway.
Okay, gotcha. And I did have one additional question on number 6, which is the no red ink. And since this is curriculum related, I was wondering, is this something that has to go through the curriculum council in order to be approved as an alternate, as a supplementary resource?
So we often will send materials through. We're more looking at it as a, pilot this year. It's a one-year contract to supplement what we currently do in writing. We're receiving professional development on it as well, and then we would take it to Curriculum Council for a review. Not everything that we do can fit into the time limits of Curriculum Council, so we send a lot of the larger programs. But again, this is just to support us as we move forward in the writing process based on the new curriculum that we look at, as well as to ensure that our students are receiving, it's a digital tool so that we can really adjust it throughout the year so that we can write to different genres of, for writing.
Okay. So is this kind of more like a pilot program, and then?
This year, we're looking at it exactly. It's
Okay.
only a 1 year, so if it's not something that we really doesn't meet our needs, we can always, look for something else. But as we look at multiple resources out there, there's nothing that's as comprehensive to support teachers and our students, as well as goes directly within our learning management system, so that students can upload their work within No Red Ink within our learning management system. They can be provided feedback. It's differentiated for the needs of not only the student, but the different types of genre that would be used within the English class and the writing classes. And it also will expand across other contents to support other contents within writing.
Okay, okay. Can we ask that this be run through the normal, so kind of be treated as a pilot and run through the normal process with the Curriculum Council next year, just to?
Maybe before purchasing it now?
Before purchasing the second year of it, I guess, is the way to look at it. Because if we purchased it again a year from now, it would have to come back, right? Because it's a $50,000 expenditure. So, okay, could we put it on as the stipulation of it should still go through the regular process?
Sure, we can do that.
Absolutely. So later in the year for Curriculum Council, it could be maybe one of our February. We want to make sure that we have enough time to explore it, to make sure that, we receive feedback from teachers, and then we can definitely do a presentation at Curriculum Council for the council to review and provide feedback.
Okay, you said it's being piloted in a number of schools or in all of the high
It's actually
schools?
across all of our schools this year, and that's why we only have a one-year contract on it. We want to make sure that it does fit the needs of our teachers and our students.
Okay.
That's
All right.
on those.
Okay, I call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously. Now I need a motion for the approval of numbers 4 and 5.
I'll make the motion.
It is
I'll
by
second.
Ms. and Ms. Pataglia, Mr. Whistler. Thank you.
All right.
Take it away.
So I'm sorry,
Anybody have any
we're
questions?
back to 4 and 5.
Yes.
We're on 4 and 5 now.
If I may add to the superintendent's introductory remarks, which I know were a minute ago now, but
Right.
so the superintendent is recommending that two things happen here tonight. The one that we absolutely need to happen here tonight is approval of these contracts so that we can begin to plan for the upcoming plan year, open enrollment, et cetera. As a second item, the superintendent, based on the background she provided, is making the recommendation that we allow retirees to enter these two coverages as well. It's been a long time since we've changed any kind of retiree benefits, and so we just wanted to note in the public record and for auditing purposes that action is part of this. They can be independent actions, or they can be one vote as recommended. As far as a little more background information on the inclusion of retirees, what the discussion was that led to the RFPs and where the numbers came in. As the superintendent mentioned, we bid with an option. We asked respondents to bid for employees, but also provide what would be a cost option if retirees were invited into the programs as well. And what order are they in? Dental first. In terms of dental, under the current contract, the current per employee per month fee is $2.35. This new contract would lower that fee per employee or per member per month, however you want to look at it, per person per month, from $2.35 to $2.15. So that's an 8.5% reduction. It might be easier to talk about them both, even though you might want to vote on them separately. For vision It's a little bit different in that it's a blended contribution rate, so it's not a single per person per month. So I'll just tease out individual coverage. The current rate is $4.58, and under the proposed contract, that would lower to $3.64. So that's in the individually, that won't be, but in the blended rate aggregate, that's a 20.6% reduction from the current contract. Now, what we're proposing in terms of retiree coverage or inclusion opportunity is that it be 100% funded by retirees. So we would try to set rates or premiums, whatever you want to call them, that would cover the retirees' claims experience as a claims pool or risk pool, but also cover the per month contribution as well. So in the case of vision, which is a fully insured program, there then should be no cost and no risk to the Board of Ed at all. In the case of the dental program, which is self-insured, there should be no administration cost if we set those rates to include the per member per month fee. There is a slight risk with setting those, what people would generally call premiums, just right, especially since we have no experience here. It's probably going to take a couple of years to figure out, okay, exactly how many retirees would enroll in this program. And you don't want to set the rate so high that people don't enroll, and you don't want to set the rate so low that there's terrible risk for the board. But it's going to take a moment to figure out, okay, what is the risk pool going to look like, and what should those rates be? There might be some adjustments for a year or two, I guess is what I'm saying. But what we would be talking about here is not a number like we were talking about when we closed out the budget year on medical claims. And by the way, that wasn't retiree medical claims, that was employee medical claims. But the volume of risk in terms of whole dollar amounts is nowhere similar in a dental plan than it is with medical claims. So we want to be transparent that there's a slight risk, and it might take a couple of years to adjust to that, but it's not something that, the superintendent felt like should not allow her to bring forward the recommendation, knowing that we should be able to get there in a couple of years of setting rates that cover the fee and cover claims. I hope all of that made sense.
And thank you for that explanation. I think that's very important. And the other thing I want to say is that Ms. McCullough, I think, did a great explanation of what our retirees really do. A lot of them come back, and a lot of them volunteer. And we can't vote, but we need to say a thank you. And of course, I understand if you get a $5 million dental bill at the end, then you've got to do some changes. But I hope these three that will vote for it, because I think they need it.
And thank you for saying that. We should thank them, and we would love to have a few more come back.
Absolutely, yeah. We need more. We need more. We need more substitutes. We need more. Yes. And we can't do it without these people. And you know that.
I do know that. And
yes.
more of them used to substitute before the pandemic.
Yes.
It would be nice to have them back.
Yes.
And Mrs. Herbert, to that point of the amount of risk, by comparison, in the couple of really bad medical claims years we've had, and again, this is for active employees, you're talking about medical claims in the $60 to $70 million range.
Right.
Our total dental claims the last couple of years were under $3 million.
Yes.
So,
right.
Comparatively, it's not the same conversation.
No, it's not, yes.
Admittedly, that's a problem that we're working on over there.
Absolutely. Well, I thank you for that good explanation. All right, she's got her card up first. Okay, Ms. Savigny.
And Mr. O'Neill, I really appreciate that explanation. I think I'd like to just understand, so, if we're looking at this for the dental piece, the $165,000 number, that's really is that the $2.15 per member per month times the number of employees, including retirees? Is that what that $165,000 is?
I believe so, yes. Yes, that includes it includes our actuary's best guess estimate of how many of an available pool might enroll.
Right.
Right.
Okay, gotcha. And so I think I'd like to, so I agree with everything you said, Ms. Herbert. We definitely want to thank and support our retirees. I think what we can't do is foot additional health benefit costs but happy to provide the availability to the retirees that they can get these benefits at a much discounted rate that they could go and get them on their own individually, right? Like, so the access to it is fantastic. But I would like to have it specifically stated that these fees would be borne by the retirees, right? So that it's kind of a net cost of zero to the Board of Ed. Is that fair to say it that way?
Fair, or fully funded by the
Yes.
retirees?
Fully funded by the retirees, right?
And I'll look to Mr. Burkhouse if there needs to be an amendment to clarify that recommendation. And I do believe, for the record, for what it's worth, that was the retirees'
Included.
request.
Yes,
That
that
was-
was our,
right.
that was their request.
And the conversations that I had with them and Ms. McCullough at that time was that we would pursue it that way, and that, and this is the details, but we would bifurcate how we budget. We will budget them separately. We will set rates separately. So I don't think any of that would be a surprise to them either.
Okay.
Thank you for your
Okay.
support.
Great, so could I just make a motion to
Can I
amend?
ask a question before you do? If I can ask a question, I apologize. Again, I see a figure of 165,559, and that is the cost for our current employee base, which is what, about 3,500 people? Right?
Of those,
And then,
correct, but they're not all enrolled.
right, okay, but I'm just saying potential. And then if we're going to add another potential 1,300 retirees, I'm going to ask a simple question. What would that cost be if we only did existing employees? That 165,559?
I don't know that I can answer that. Can you all?
I'd guess
I'm just trying to
two-thirds,
understand the
two-thirds.
difference, because
Two-thirds of it.
we're
Two-thirds.
potentially adding 1,300 people to the rolls, and I'm just kind of curious what that cost would be, what that difference would be.
I'll ask Rob and Ernesto to keep looking at the analysis from Bolton, but I don't believe it would change, though, because in the rate or premium that we would be setting for retirees, that would include a rate to try to get at group claims, but also to get at the per member per month cost as well. We would be billing them directly for enrollment.
So I guess what you're saying is it doesn't matter whether they're added or not, that 165.59 is our cost, whether we add them or not?
It matters.
Because you're going to share the cost out across more people and they're going to pay it more? I'm trying to determine what the cost to the taxpayers will be if we add 1,300 people to our dental plan. What the potential cost and risk is to the taxpayer. That's what I'm trying to discern.
So the potential administration cost should be none to the
None.
Board of Ed.
Okay. And then what
Because
about,
we would recover the monthly fee from the employee in their rate when we set rates for their enrollment. The claims
the claims, right?
is unknown.
What is our risk? What's our exposure?
I mean, you're asking me to be an actuary to some degree, which I'm not, but I would say percentage-wise, if we had an incredibly bad year in claims experience, you're talking about a couple of 100,000, not anywhere near the millions that we're talking about in a different conversation about medical claims.
Yeah, my concern is that we're potentially increasing by almost 50% the number of people that we're going to bring into the dental plan and the risks that the taxpayers may have to bear if we have a bunch of claims that we can or cannot pay. That's what I'm trying to discern. I'm trying to discern that potential cost or that potential risk.
One thing to just keep in mind is that once we did this, if we were to do it and we did it for 1 year, and let's say that, it ended up that we were $50,000 over what we had thought, then we would be able to go back and, as Mr. O'Neill said, because the costs borne to the employees are going to be bifurcated, we would be able to adjust what the retirees' premiums would be to cover that. So we're looking to find that sweet spot there that makes it worth it to them to buy in, but also protects us. So even if we were off by some, it would only be for 1 year, and then we would get, we would of course keep looking at it year after year. But it isn't like if you wanted to make that decision, that we would be making a decision that would negatively affect us for years and years to come.
We're not locked in every year after year.
No.
Yeah. Again, that's just the concern I have. The
Yeah.
concern I have is that we're bringing on 1,300 potential people, and the taxpayers are at risk for that. And so that's just, I mean, we just need to proceed with that knowledge and understanding.
And I appreciate that, and I think we appreciate that. I do think I'm reading the correspondence, I think I can answer your first question more confidently. That reflects active employees. So that number shouldn't change. And in fact, that number shouldn't change at all, because we do know what the per month per fee amount is, and that will be that will be part of the employee's contribution. The next step tonight we're not setting rates, we do that later with the actuaries. But that initial rate setting will be to include that fee, but then, okay, also what is the employee's contribution towards trying to hit what we think would be the total claims experience. And
Right.
we'll aim higher than we would lower, obviously, in this first year. Bolton's other concern is that you don't, in their analysis to us, is you don't want to aim so high
Right.
that you shut off the risk pool, and you don't get the right size pool to sort of have the contributions match the claims.
Right.
But we're going to err more on the side of caution than on the side of let's make it low and see what happens.
Sure. Yeah, the other concern I have is for the existing employees now. Bringing on 1,500 or 1,300 more people, that may increase their rates. So the concern I have is not just for the taxpayer, but also for the existing employee base.
Right.
Whose rates may be affected because of this addition. So that's my concern.
Yeah, so that one I can answer pretty steadily. The response from the bidder didn't change on a per month, per person fee, whether it included retirees or not. So there was no increase, there's no direct cost to your contribution on behalf of employees. And we would budget claims and contributions separately. They would be bifurcated. There'd be a active employee budget and claims experience, and there'll be a retiree budget and claims experience.
Okay, so you're saying the retirees that are brought on, they're going to bear the cost of the retiree plan?
They are.
The active, there's, okay, that's good news and comforting for existing.
They are
employees.
their own risk pool.
Yeah, okay.
And I'm pretty sure I shared that loudly and clearly from the very beginning. That would.
Yeah, I mean, it's really important to understand we're adding a lot of people to our plan, and we're exposing us to potential claims, and it's risk. So it's just really important to understand that.
And we've spent some decent amount of time with Bolton Partners, who that's our actuarial firm, our consultant, not just analyzing the bids, but following up, asking the same questions you're asking me tonight. Like, help me understand what amount of risk that is. Am I talking $1 million of risk? Because I'm not okay with that. Or is it likely nowhere near that amount? And so I'm not going to lie to you, there's some risk, but I don't think it's the kind of risk that puts you in a place that we can't deal with that budgetarily if we need to, and make rates the next year that account for it. To be fair, at the same token, we could set rates higher than claims experience turns out to be. I mean, that's equally likely, I would say, at this stage, too.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, so I guess,
I
okay.
appreciate my colleague waiting to offer her amendment. Thank you for
Okay.
letting me speak.
All right. Ms. Battaglia?
I was just going to say, a lot of this, and I hear the concern, but a lot of people, I think, this would just be something supplemental because they would qualify for Medicare because of their retirement age.
Yeah, this isn't medical coverage
Right,
at all. This
right.
is a
But I mean,
supplemental program.
some do have that option of getting some type of dental or vision.
Supplemental.
But it's supplemental. But I
certainly
mean, that's
be-
why I don't think a lot of people would sign up. I mean, they might just go ahead and continue with that.
Yeah.
Plus,
Yeah, this is going to be a lot cheaper for them
Right.
than the,
plus, well, also depending upon military or et cetera too, because you have all that. Plus, I mean, we're getting ready to look at it, under 6R, but, we had a decrease in usage of our medical expenses, of our medical insurance. We didn't use the total amount, so
Oh,
there's.
well, we overused our medical, our employee medical claims. We've had 2 of the highest years we've ever had.
Ever.
When we, I don't know if you want to have that conversation now or later,
No, you
Mrs.
don't.
Battaglia. What you're getting at is on the next action item, why are we able to transfer money
Right.
in? So when we brought you the year-end transfer on kind of our, like the real money, your money in the operating budget a couple of months ago, we did not have our final month of claims. So we had 11 out of 12 months of claims in a fiscal year, but we knew that we were seeing claims at levels we had never seen before. And when we brought you that transfer to cover medical claims, and these are active employee medical claims, we brought you a transfer that we were certain wouldn't require us to bring you a second transfer for that same purpose. We took the most generous estimate of what June claims could possibly be and brought you that transfer. They didn't turn out to be at that highest level again ever, and so now we can transfer money back to cover the in-kind cost of SROs. But to be clear,
We'll look at that later.
employee medical claims have been higher than they've ever been the
Okay.
last 2 years, so.
So we'll look at that when we come up, but, again, you have people, who,
Right. However,
on Medicare.
retiree medical claims have not been.
Right.
So that's good. And, and again, these people have dedicated their lives, years and years of service, hours and hours. They've sacrificed a lot. They sacrificed their family time. They sacrificed, time away from their kids. This is the least we can do. That's how I feel.
Ms. Savigny, did you want to say something else?
Yeah, I just wanted to offer an amendment to this, like, happy to do it for the retirees to provide this access. I would just like to make an amendment to state that we will attempt to make it an estimated net cost of 0 to the Board of Education each year,
Correct. Or fully funded by.
fully
retirees.
funded by the retirees each year,
Okay, do I have?
including administration fees.
Okay, Mr. Worcester second that. Okay, so we have an amendment. And do we have any other discussion?
Specifically for the dental.
Okay.
It would be both.
Both.
But it's both.
So we have 2 on the floor with an amendment to include both of them. Do I have any other comments before we make a vote? Well, I call for the vote for 3 of you.
Aye.
Aye?
Aye? Okay, it passes unanimously with 3 and 2 abstained. Okay, and I thank you.
Can you explain to the public why you abstained?
They did.
They did. We're retirees.
Potential
This will
conflict of
benefit us.
interest.
It'll
Yeah,
benefit
conflict
us.
of interest.
Some people may not understand
Right,
why you're
no,
abstaining.
no. So, yeah, conflict of interest. Our attorneys would not be very happy if we voted on that tonight. No. All right, and thank you. So now I need a motion for the approval of transfer of school bus contracts.
So moved.
So moved by Dr. Dorsey, seconded by Mr. Whistler.
This is to
Sorry,
approve the
Becca.
transfer of a school bus contract between 2 of our existing contractors. Any questions?
Any other comments, questions? We still need school bus drivers, so I just want to let you know, we are open. All right, I call the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously. Now I need a motion for the approval of the FY 2024 operating budget transfer by Ms. Battaglia and seconded by
I'll second.
Ms. Savigny.
We need to bring to you one final FY24 budget transfer this evening. As we were finalizing the FY24 budget and preparing for the annual financial audit, we recognized that we had not yet charged the in-kind budget contribution from the county for the SRO program to Category 6 of the budget. Even though it's an in-kind budget contribution and it does not involve the movement of actual dollars, from an accounting or an audit standpoint, we do need to recognize them as an expenditure and balance it with revenue. Therefore, we are bringing this final FY24 transfer to finalize Category 6 of the operating budget.
Questions, comments?
You want to go?
Neither one, okay, okay, you don't have your cards up, girls. Okay. Are you,
Yep.
you want to speak?
Yep,
Okay.
go ahead.
Ms. Battaglia.
Okay, Can you please re-explain what you explained earlier regarding this?
I will try. So, in closing out fiscal '24 at your June meeting, I believe, that was one of the times where we highlighted our medical claims experience for active employees and how we were having historically high years. And we brought to you a transfer that in part would you would authorize us to transfer money in from certain categories to cover those full claims. And at the time we bring that item to you, we only have claims known through May. We don't know what June's claims are going to be yet.
And you said that.
I think I did say
Yes,
that
you
at the
did.
time. And I probably said what I'm about to say, or at least meant to, or tried to. So part of that transfer was everything we knew through May, but not yet June.
That's correct.
But we knew that April and May in particular, because it wasn't an equal amount every month of claims, April and May in particular were extraordinarily high claims experience. And so as we bring the transfer to pay for July through May, we want to estimate on the high end what June could possibly be so that we don't have to come back in an emergency meeting and ask you for another transfer, like we were off by $250,000. It turns out June was a lower actual experience year than the worst case scenario could have been, and that allows us to move $500,000 of real money tonight to account for, from an accounting lens, 1.5 mil, is it 1.5 or 1.6 million in kind funding provided to us from the commissioners.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Thank you.
Okay. I was just wondering, because I know I had briefly brought, with the Medicare and everything, and I was like, well, the employee medical insurance, like,
No.
I mean, that's quite a,
No.
that's quite a little dip
engaged
there.
in we're working to address 2 years of very high experience in medical claims. And I think when the superintendent gets to her public budget time with you, that'll be a focal point of that discussion.
And it only takes like 3 or 4 people to really skew it.
That's a part of it.
And that's,
We had
yes.
some significantly high
And also,
claims for people.
I do believe that during COVID, people put off operations, and they did. And I get it. They didn't go for those operations that they really put off and put off and put off, and then bam.
Yeah,
They said, okay, it was time to get that knee replacement, it was time to get that hip replacement, so. And I think, talking to people, that's what a lot of people did. They put their health off during COVID.
We believe there's a number of underlying factors with our eyes, but we're asking our actuaries
Sure.
to use data to verify and
Absolutely.
not verify exactly what's driving it.
All right, I call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously. And I want to say one thing in closing. These people in the back, this cabinet back here, they have worked very hard all summer and don't get a lot of credit. The teachers do, the custodians do. I'm sure the bus drivers have washed their buses, and I thank them. But I need to thank you all, because you are doing curriculum, you're having meetings, you're getting new hirees. You're doing a lot behind the back that nobody knows. And I want to thank you all. Ernesto, I know you've been swamped and getting new employees, but that is a wonderful thing that hasn't happened for years. So I just need to thank all of you back there that don't get a lot of credit sometimes. I want to thank you, because you're the backbone. And I know you, Dr. McCabe, her group up here, and you all have really worked hard to make this a great system, and especially to start off and have a great, fall. So I thank you from the bottom of my heart, and I'm sure everyone here at this dais thanks you also, because it's not easy, because everybody thinks, oh, well, during the summer you don't have to do anything. You guys are really working extra hard trying to get everything ready, caught up, new curriculum, and new things that have come out, and getting these new teachers ready. So I thank you. So.
Ditto.
I applaud you. So, we will have at 1 p.m. Wednesday, September 11th, a joint meeting with the Board of Education, the Board of County Commissioners, and the Carroll County Delegation in the boardroom at 125 North Court Street, Westminster. Then, at 5 p.m. on Wednesday, September 11th, it's going to be a all-dayer. board meeting with public participation in the boardroom at 125 North Court Street, Westminster. May I have a motion to adjourn? So moved by Dr. Dorsey, seconded by Ms. Battaglia. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? It passes unanimously. Get out of here. It's 7 o'clock.